You know, there's always a moment in these hearings where one side realizes they have made a catastrophic mistake. For Democrat Senator Sheldon Whitehouse, that moment came when he tried to smear Trump's AG, Pam Bondi, and she calmly exposed his own dark money and shady dealings instead. Let's watch the whole thing together, and then you'll get to hear my honest opinion.
White House. Thank you, Chairman. Ms. Bondi, good morning.
Good morning.
What became of the $50,000 in cash that the FBI paid to Mr. Homan in a paper bag, evidently?
Senator, as Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche recently stated, the investigation of Mr. Homan was subjected to a full review by the FBI, agents, and DOJ prosecutors. They found no credible evidence of any wrongdoing.
And that was not my question. My question was, what became of the $50,000 in cash that the FBI delivered, evidently in a paper bag, to Mr. Homan?
Senator, I'd look at your facts.
Are you saying that they did not deliver $50,000 in cash to Mr. Homan?
Senator, as recently stated, the investigation of Mr. Homan was subjected to a full
It's a different
review
question.
by the FBI agents,
That's a
by
different
Department
question.
of Justice prosecutors. They found no evidence of wrongdoing.
That's a different question. What became of the $50,000? Did the FBI get it back?
Mr. Whitehouse, excuse me, Senator Whitehouse, you're welcome to talk to the FBI.
The report to you, can't you answer this question?
Senator Whitehouse, you're welcome to discuss this with Director Patel.
Did Homan keep the $50,000?
As Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche recently stated, the investigation of Mr.
Never mind.
Homan
I can
was
see I'm not going to get a
subject
straight
to full
answer from you
review
to a very simple
by
question.
the FBI agents and the DOJ.
Do
They
you
found
know-
no credible evidence of wrongdoing. You know, you're very concerned about money and people taking money, and
Do
you
you
rail
know-
against
wait a
dark
second,
money.
wait a second, wait a
Yet you
second,
work with dark
wait a
money
second.
groups all the time, Senator
Wait a
Whitehouse.
second. Did you know whether or not in that investigation they looked at whether the 2024 $50,000 payment to Mr. Homan was declared by him on his tax returns?
Senator, I would be more concerned if I were you when you talk about corruption and money that when you pushed for legislation that would subsidize your wife's company.
The questions here are actually pretty specific. So having you respond with completely irrelevant far-right internet talking points really is not very helpful here. I'd like, Mr. Chairman, you generally like to have us be able to get answers to know, and we'll follow up with the QFR. And to the extent Patel wants to answer, that would be great as well. What happened to the $50,000? Did Homan keep it? Did the FBI get it back? If he kept it, did he put it on his tax returns? Pretty simple questions. Homan was the same guy who said there was a deal with Eric Adams. He said, if Adams doesn't come through, I'll be back. I'll be in his office, up his butt, saying, where the hell is the agreement we came to? Which brings us to the OPR investigation of prosecutorial misconduct by Emil Bovee, because he was also involved in that transaction. Yeah. What became of the OPR investigation of prosecutorial misconduct by Emil Bovee?
Yeah, Senator Whitehouse, to correct you for one moment, that would be the Honorable Judge Emil J. Bovee III to you.
Not at the time of this. He was an employee of the Department of Justice. And what became of the OPR investigation?
It's all pending litigation,
misconduct?
Senator. I can't discuss pending litigation nor personnel matters.
OPR customarily publicly says when there's an investigation, and at the end of it, they provide a summary. Why can't you say whether there's an OPR investigation and whether, if it's concluded, there's a summary?
Senator, I'm not going to discuss personnel matters.
even public ones.
Senator, I'm not going to discuss personnel matters.
So, Kash Patel told this committee that his grand jury testimony after immunization, after initially pleading the Fifth, was, and I quote, sealed by the Department of Justice. How and when and why was his testimony sealed, and by whom?
Senator, I'm not going to discuss any testimony, especially testimony that could be sealed with you.
No, the question is, was it or was it not sealed?
Senator, I'm not going to discuss that with you.
Well, he also said that he worked with the Department of Justice to have his transcript released publicly. How and when was his transcript released? Presumably, if he released it publicly, that's something you can discuss because it's public.
Well, Senator, I believe you discussed that with Director Patel.
And I'm asking you because he said the Department of Justice made this decision and you run the Department of Justice.
I would refer that to Director Patel.
Even though you run the Department of Justice and he testified that the Department of Justice released his transcript publicly.
If it is released publicly, we will get you a copy, Senator, gladly.
If being a rather important word there, when your FBI director testified that that was a fact. Treasury compiles suspicious activity reports, referred to often as SARs, that DOJ receives automatically. Hundreds related to accounts of Jeffrey Epstein. How many of those Treasury SARs did you or Director Patel investigate?
Senator, I'm not sure if you're concerned because you took money, I believe, did you, from Reid Hoffman, one of Epstein's closest confidants, not only once but twice in 2018 and 2024, if that's correct. But, Senator, did you ask Merrick Garland any of this over the last 4 years when he sat before you? This investigation has been going on. This investigation was closed. Did you ask Alex Acosta that?
And Patel came to office, you said you would look into this. There were hundreds of suspicious activity reports. Some people would deduce from the fact that they are called suspicious activity reports that there might be suspicious activity. And yet you seem to have looked at 0 of those suspicious activity reports involving Jeffrey Epstein accounts. Let me ask you something else. There's been public reporting that Jeffrey Epstein showed people photos of President Trump with half-naked young women. Do you know if the FBI found those photographs in their search of Jeffrey Epstein's safe or premises or otherwise? Have you seen any such thing?
You know, Senator Whitehouse, you sit here and make salacious remarks, once again trying to slander President Trump left and right, when you're the one who was taking money from one of Epstein's closest confidants, I believe, I could be wrong, correct me, Reid Hoffman, who was with Jeffrey Epstein on multiple occasions. And the senator sitting right next to you tried to block the flight logs from being released. Yet you're grilling me on President Trump and some photograph with Epstein? Come on.
The question is, did the FBI find those photographs that have been discussed publicly by a witness who claimed Jeffrey Epstein showed them to him? You don't know anything about that. Okay. Here's what well, no, we cut to something else. The Marshal Service is supposed to protect our federal judges. I have asked repeatedly for the Marshal Service to let me know if they are investigating or being inhibited from investigating whether or not there is orchestration of threats against federal judges, whether under either conspiracy laws or racketeering enterprise laws or aiding and abetting laws, whatever. But as you know, there's the person who says the threat, and then there may very well be somebody orchestrating the threat behind them. Is the Marshal Service allowed to investigate orchestration of threats, and do you know if they've taken one step to do so?
May I answer the question, Chairman Grassley? The time has expired.
I think it's the convention of the committee that if I've started my question in my time, you may answer the question.
I was asking the chairman.
Okay, before I go to Cornyn.
She wants to answer the question, Chairman.
Oh, please go ahead. I thought you said you didn't want to answer it.
Yes,
I'm
sir.
sorry.
Thank you. Senator Whitehouse, I would be happy to sit down with you regarding any threat to any federal judge in this country. We take threats very seriously. I will set a meeting with you, with Director Seralta of the U.S. Marshals, and I will be there. And we will talk about any threats on federal judges,
Including
who
orchestration.
threatened them or who orchestrated them.
Bingo, thank you.
Okay, before.
You know, that whole opening exchange, it was never about the 50 grand, was it? I mean, that's just so painfully obvious from the get-go. It's the performance, the smug, condescending tone. He really thought he could just walk in there and talk down to her. He believed he could just intimidate a strong conservative woman into giving him a soundbite. It's the self-righteous posturing that gets me. He's acting like he's this great crusader for transparency, this virtuous public servant, when the whole thing is just a setup. The goal was to manufacture a scandal, to create this little clip of so-called Republican corruption that his friends in the media could play on a loop. And then the whole thing just completely blows up in his face. It's a classic case of the hunter becoming the hunted, isn't it? He walks in there thinking he's in charge, that he's laying this brilliant trap, and he ends up being the one who gets exposed. Honestly, it's breathtaking. He's the walking, talking embodiment of the DC swamp, and he has the nerve to lecture anyone else on corruption. His desperate attempt to paint the Trump administration as corrupt ended with the spotlight right back on his own shady dealings. The real corruption was sitting right there in his Senate seat. And that moment where she corrects him on the judge's name. My goodness. You see the deeper meaning there, right? The whole thing was a power play from him, a classic mansplaining thing where he's trying to show he's the big important senator, and she's just, it was intentional, it was dripping with disrespect, and it just reveals this deep contempt the left has for our institutions when they can't control them. To him, a federal judge is an honorable figure. He's another pawn in his political game, another name to be dragged through the mud to score a point. But she didn't let it slide. That's the thing. She went deeper than just correcting his facts. She was correcting his character, She exposed him as this petty, arrogant political hack who has no basic decorum for the office he holds. With one sentence, she put him firmly in his place. She established herself as the defender of law and order and made it perfectly clear who was really in charge of that conversation. And then, of course, they go there. When all else fails, when they have absolutely nothing on policy or substance, they pull out the Epstein card. It's the most disgusting, desperate, bottom of the barrel play in their entire book. The whole point is to generate a sick headline for CNN or MSNBC to run with for a week. It's a move of pure desperation, hoping to slander the president with the most toxic association they can possibly imagine because they know they're losing. But the way she just completely sidestepped the smear and then dropped that bomb about his connections, I mean, talk about getting incinerated. It was a complete and total self-humiliation. You could almost feel the heat from here. This is what happens when the swamp tries to take on a true conservative fighter. The ambush completely collapsed, and he was just left sitting there in the wreckage of his own failed attack. It was a brutal, brutal takedown that showed the entire world the rot at the heart of the Democratic Party. What did you think? Fire off in the comments below. And hey, if you love the video, do me a favor and smash that like button and subscribe for more. You guys are absolute legends. Catch you in the next one.